I am sort of confused about.
Okay, thank you. That's a very nice question. So, yes, this point is there that Prabhupada explains that these transcendental literatures, you might compare them to a travel brochure going to some wonderful place, some wonderful destination. And the more you hear about these and see the nice pictures of this wonderful place, the more we actually develop an interest. Oh, yes, I'd like to go there. And this is wanted, actually. We should want to go back home, back to Krishna. But the real thing is, of course, we should be practically engaged as much as possible in loving service to Krishna. And as we're chanting Hare Krishna, we should know the meaning of this Maha Mantra that is, my dear Lord, my dear energy of the Lord, my dear source of all pleasure, all attractive one, please engage me in your loving service, because this is the qualification for going back to Krishna. We have to first become qualified. So Prabhupada explained the very simple thing: first deserve and then desire. So if we are actually engaged very nicely in pure loving service to Krishna without any tinge of asking for or wanting any material benefit or trying to get some idea of merging with Krishna, and we simply ask to be engaged in his loving service, then this is actually developing the qualification for going back home, back to Godhead. So it's good to think like that yes, my dear Lord Krishna, I'd love to come back home, but please let me become your pure devotee, and then you decide. So this is very nice. Is that okay? Good. Okay. Any other question or comment there, please?
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Would you like to read on then, please, Prabhuji?
Radhika, Radhika, you can go ahead. Hare Krishna.
There are 5 kinds of liberation, namely to become one with the Lord, to live with the Supreme Lord on the same planet, to have the same features of the Lord, to enjoy the same opulences as the Lord, and to live as a companion of the Lord. Companion of the Lord. A devotee, not to speak of rejecting material sense gratification, does not even want any of the 5 kinds of liberation. He is satisfied simply by discharging love service to the Lord. That is the characteristic of a pure devotion, of pure devotion.
Yes, so this is very important because when we talk about liberation, what's another word for liberation? Freedom. Okay, so understanding that in the material world, we're not free. We're forced, as in a prison house, to follow the prison regulations. I've been going to prisons recently and even doing some courses inside the prisons, which has been very interesting, and seeing how the prisoners, they have to follow the regime within the prison. They have to follow the timings and the schedule, and they do everything according to the laws. And if they disobey, then they're punished. And it's a very difficult thing. And similarly, here in this world, we're bound up by the laws of material nature. We have to take the karmic reactions for all our activities, and we're forced to take birth again and again and again. We're stuck inside these temporary material bodies like a prison cell. Hare Krishna. And as such, we have to live with the conditions that are imposed on us by material nature. So means we are conditioned souls. We have to accept the conditions of material nature. But freedom, real freedom, means you don't have to accept the conditions of material existence. This is actual liberation. So instead of being forced to serve the material energy, we actually become free to engage in our real occupation. Just like a prisoner, when he gets out of prison, he's free to engage in his normal occupation in life. And similarly, when we're free of the conditions of material energy, we're actually free to be engaged in the service of our constitutional nature. Our real nature is to render loving service to Krishna. So real liberation is actually the freedom to be engaged in the loving service of Krishna. And this is more important than any of these 5 kinds of liberation. And we can see that the devotee, the pure devotee, he's so satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord that he doesn't even want any of the 5 kinds of liberation. He just wants to be engaged in loving service to Krishna. So this is far superior even to any of these 5 kinds of liberation, because he has real freedom, because he's engaged in loving service to Krishna. Is that okay? Okay, all right. I can
Yes,
see
Prabhu.
everybody. Okay, all right, good. So, any other questions or comments here? Okay, let's read on. Who's like to read
So
next?
Prabhu, whoever are like desiring of this 5 kind of mukti, like they have not reached to the pure devotional stage, yeah.
That's correct.
Because in the beginning, like it looks appealing that like get out of this cycle of birth and death, and like we can go there. But that's not pure devotion. Yeah, that's not pure love to Krishna. Yeah.
That's it.
Yes,
That's
Prabhu.
it. So pure devotion means we don't have any ulterior motive, no secret motive. Like, for example, if I say, oh, yes, I want to go and do some service for you, I might have a secret motive that actually I want to go down to the shops and get some chocolate. Or and that's why I'm going out to do some service for you, because that's some personal motive for my own benefit. But pure loving service to Krishna means we have no other interest except simply to please Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhuji, Brinda liked that analogy of chocolate, and she was laughing. She liked
Okay,
it.
try to make it real. Okay, all right. So, who'd like to read on some more then, please? Yes, Nirvi. Okay, please. Sorry, I can only see so many people's hands at one time, but let's see. Okay, please.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. In the above statement by Kapila Dev from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual position of a pure devotee is described, and the primary characteristics of devotional service are also defined. Further characteristics of devotional service are described by Rupa Goswami with evidences from different scriptures. He states that there are 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, which are as follows. Number 1. Pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Number 2. Pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Number 3. Pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure.
Unfortunately, I can't see the screen anymore. Something happened here. Oh dear. Switch to share. Okay, found it. Okay, it's just I'm trying to get used to Zoom. Right. So, yes, the actual position of a pure devotee is described. Can we just scroll up to the top of that paragraph again? There we are. Okay. Okay. So any questions or comments on this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Dandavat Pranam. Just a quick question, like how to achieve a pure devotional service in a family life when you have a kids and family?
Okay. Keep chanting Hare Krishna. Try to engage your family as far as possible in loving service to Krishna. Hear about Krishna. Actually, this book is actually the whole science of bhakti yoga, of devotion, of pure devotional service. So one thing that is very important is to regularly hear and chant about Krishna. And if we try to hear from a pure devotee, as we're doing here in this nice Nectar of Devotion book, we're actually associating with Srila Prabhupada by hearing and discussing what he's giving us. So as we try to hear and understand and explain the science of Krishna ourselves and with our family members, everyone gradually makes nice progress, because it is a gradual process of becoming attracted to Krishna, so that we become more and more interested in offering loving service to please Krishna. That's the very simple thing. Trying to associate with devotees, take Krishna prasadam, try to ensure that everyone just honors Krishna prasadam instead of eating foods which are non-devotional foods, which haven't been offered to Krishna. And like that, staying in the association of devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, and performing Sankirtan, living in a holy place. And a holy place is that place where the devotees congregate together and associate by discussing the glories of Krishna and understanding the science of Krishna. So this whole process of trying to cleanse the heart and mind by understanding the science of Krishna means that it's just like if you have a cup full of ink, if you keep pouring water into the cup, milk into the cup, gradually the cup becomes more and more full of milk and there's no more room for the ink. And in the same way, as our hearts and minds become filled with Krishna Katha and understanding Krishna, the more the interest in material activities falls away, the more our consciousness becomes purified and always absorbed in loving thoughts of Krishna. So it's a gradual process of this nice association. Does that make some sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. So these characteristics of pure devotional service are very helpful to understand, and they're all going to be discussed as we go on. But particularly if we understand these 6 characteristics, they're very significant, because this is how we can see that our devotional service is actually becoming purified. Because that pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. And it's the beginning of all auspiciousness, and it automatically puts us in transcendental pleasure. If we're experiencing transcendental pleasure, then this is called the higher taste. If we have a higher taste, just like if a little child is chewing on a milk bottle top or something dangerous, trying to take it away from the child is very difficult, because the child will cry. But if you give the child something nice and pleasurable, you give him a nice rasagula or sandesh or gulab jamun, then he can quickly lose interest in that unpleasant thing which is not going to do him good, but instead appreciate that this is something very nice and gradually lose interest in all other harmful things. So let's have a look at 4, 5, and 6, if we can, please, Rupesh Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, what is material distress and how pure devotional service can give us relief from that?
Yes, because actually, if we're experiencing transcendental pleasure, then the significance of our material situation becomes gradually insignificant. So it's just like you can see sometimes someone may be in a very distressing situation, just like Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev, he was lying and his body was pierced all the way through by arrows. But actually, he was transcendentally blissful and always thinking of Krishna. And so he wasn't incapacitated in any way. He was able to focus his heart and mind on Krishna. And so he got full relief from all kinds of material distress. And similarly, the mind may be troubled by so many disturbing situations, like Prahlad Maharaj. He was being physically tortured by his father, but he was happy just to be chanting Hare Krishna. And even though he was thrown off a cliff, even though he was supposed to be in a pit of dangerous snakes and scorpions and pierced by tridents of the demons, still he was completely peaceful and happy because he was chanting the holy names of Krishna. So these are practical examples of someone who's in a materially distressed condition, but actually is not disturbed by them, is actually satisfied within from their own Krishna consciousness. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prashant Prabhu. Haribol, good to see you.
Yeah, Dandat Pranam. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question was related to this thing which we are talking about right now. That's why, sorry, I'm interrupting. Can I ask quickly, Prabhuji?
Please.
Prabhuji,
Please.
continuing with the question which Ritu Mataji asked, like how to become a pure devotee when you have a family life as well. But Prabhuji, when we look all the Goswamis and all the acharyas, all the senior devotees, mostly, maybe I'm wrong, but I see that they all left their families to become pure devotees. I cannot see any real life practical example of a married person, because whenever we look for a leader or for guidance, we look like someone has followed this path. But I see all the pure devotees, mostly, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, maybe you know some people like that, they left their families to become pure devotees. So like this makes me thinking, like if you want to become pure devotee, maybe you have to at some point leave your family, or you cannot balance this thing of family life, because in real life we look for example, like we see if someone is like already followed this path, then we look up to him like, oh, he has done the same thing, so maybe we can also manage. But somehow this creates a doubt in mind. Maybe it's difficult to manage a married life and to become at the same time a pure devotee. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you know some examples, or so that we can look up to them.
Yes, well, actually, I know quite a number of devotees who live very happily and peacefully in their married life and with their children, and who are always nicely engaged in devotional service and engage their families in devotional service. One nice example you can see is what's her name? Kishori and her husband. She does a lot of nice bhajans and kirtans and classes online. They live as a very blissful family. The whole family are engaged nicely in devotional service. Another example, if you know Vaisheshika Prabhu, who is a champion of Prabhupada's book distribution, he's a married man. And
Um,
Mahatma Prabhu, he's also he's an initiating spiritual master also, and he is a family man, and he's happily engaging full time in loving service to Krishna and engaging so many others. So the point is that Prabhupada, he explained to us that if someone is engaged as a householder in loving service to Krishna, and he wrote this in a letter to Hamsadutta, I remember. Hamsadutta was one of the senior men. He's passed away now. But Prabhupada said in one letter that if you can remain fixed in devotional service, even in the presence of a beautiful and obliging wife, then you're more than any sannyasi.
oh,
How
that's
about that?
something. Yes,
So,
Prabhuji. That's so inspiring and motivating, Prabhuji.
so the point is that actually we have to be eagerly engaging in loving service to Krishna, because this is the qualification. If we try to artificially leave home and we're not fixed up in our devotional service, then again Prabhupada, he gives this example. I was reading this in the Nectar of Devotion just the other day. He's explaining later on that people sometimes they go to live in a holy place, either men or women, and live a life of renunciation, but then they again fall victim to associating with the opposite sex and again engaged in family life. So what use is that? Better to remain at home. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had many, many associates who were householders, and he encouraged them. You stay at home and practice Krishna consciousness. Don't leave home, because actually, as householders, if you're fixed in devotional service, in many ways, this is a safer position even than being a so-called renunciant and still being attracted to material existence. So the point is the heart has to become purified. And the heart becomes purified by associating with pure devotees and by hearing from them and chanting, performing Sankirtan, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and worshipping the deity. So if we have the deity of Krishna at home, actually the most merciful deity to keep at home is actually Gaur Nitai, because they're 100% merciful and they don't accept any offense. But they can be worshipped very nicely and very simply at home. And gradually that love for Krishna can be developed very nicely. Because Lord Chaitanya is Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahe Anya. Lord Chaitanya is none other than Radha and Krishna himself, combined in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So worshipping Gaur Nitai at home and trying to please them by offering our food to them, chanting their holy names, performing Sankirtan, reading and discussing these literatures to understand the position of the Jiva and the Supreme Personality of Godhead and our relationship. What is this world? The whole science is very powerful. And in this way, by trying to make it very easy for the whole family to be engaged in loving service to Krishna, undoubtedly, all the members of the family will make nice progress. So does that help, please, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, it helps. Just last one, Prabhuji. Like if I personally ask you, who do you see as an idol, uh, very dedicated devotee, like in your mind or in your lifetime, who a married man who you have seen personally, which you look like, oh, he is a pure devotee with his family. Like maybe we
Uh,
can.
well, I gave a couple of examples,
Mm,
Vaisheshika Prabhu and Mahatma Prabhu. They're both married men and they're engaging nicely in devotional service as initiating spiritual masters here in our society of ISKCON. Those are two that come to mind immediately. Also, Pragosh Prabhu He's a disciple of Satsvarup Maharaj, and he's always engaging nicely in trying to help the spreading of this Krishna consciousness movement. And for example, what about Amala Manjari and Vishal Gauranga? They're very nicely engaged in loving service to Krishna, and they're householders. They don't have any children, but their children are actually Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So they're looking after them very nicely. They're probably the closest example I can give of someone close to home. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
That helps, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
you're most welcome. Thank you. Nice question.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Good. So here we see then, has anybody else has any other question also?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, Kratu Maharaj is also a family man.
His Holiness
Yes,
Kratu Das Maharaj.
Yes, he is in Vrindavan.
Okay. Kratu, what is his name?
His Holiness Kratu Das Maharaj.
Okay, he's a Swami, yes?
Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
So if he's a sannyasi, he wouldn't be a family
No,
man.
he's a family man.
Okay, but if he's got the title of His Holiness, which is
Yes.
normally applied to sannyasis, right, then he wouldn't be a
Prabhuji,
family.
we shared.
So normally, okay, but a sannyasi is generally addressed as His Holiness, and someone who is not a sannyasi may be normally addressed as His Grace. So the term Maharaj or Swami is generally reserved for a sannyasi.
Okay.
So I don't know this devotee who we're talking about here.
There are so many famous books he wrote.
Okay, but still we should understand that the title of Goswami or Swami is reserved for a sannyasi.
Okay.
Prabhuji, his attire is of Grihastha, so looks like he is a
He is
Grihastha.
wearing white
But
dress.
But I think on the side or everywhere, putting His Holiness or Maharaj is not something sort of aligned, because Vaisheshika Prabhu always it's never Maharaj, it's never His Grace, it's never His Holiness, it's always His Grace, Vaisheshika Prabhu. So
Yes.
This like on the web pages or like I'm not sure, but looks like his attire definitely indicates that he's Grihastha.
Yes. So generally, it is not the proper etiquette to address a grihasta as His Holiness or Maharaj or Swami, because those are titles reserved for sannyasi. Otherwise, it all becomes very mixed up. But actually, there is a social etiquette that the grihasta may be addressed as His Grace. Prabhupada always taught us like that. And sometimes you see in Vrindavan, there are families who call themselves the Goswami families, but they are actually in the family of previous acharyas who've become swamis. But this title of accepting a family man of a Goswami is actually improper. So I'm just sharing this with you because it's important to make the distinction between a householder and a sannyasi. But here, the point we're really talking about is that if someone is engaged in loving service to Krishna, then they're fully engaged in loving service to Krishna. And this is confirmed by so many predecessor acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, that if someone is fully engaged in loving service to Krishna, it doesn't matter if he's in any of the particular social or spiritual orders of life, because they're actually on the same platform of loving service to Krishna. For example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was the father of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, he was the most elevated scholar, but he took initiation from what is that?
Gordas Babaji?
Yes, and he was actually, by material standards, was illiterate in that he couldn't write his own name. And yet Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati took initiation from him because he was so advanced in devotional service. And they both were very happy to associate with Bhaktivinoda Thakur as a householder because he's fully advanced in devotional service and he's accepted as Acharya. So if we study the lives of the predecessor Acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, and so many devotees, Vyasadeva himself, he was a householder and he had children. So the point is that also Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, one of the very close associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a householder. And he was a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was a sannyasi. So it's not the duty of a sannyasi to associate with worldly minded people, but it is the duty of everyone to associate with those who are advanced devotees and to try to learn from them and understand the science of Krishna. And as we'll see as we go on reading in this Nectar of Devotion, how gradually everything becomes very clear about how to actually advance in devotional service. But the first thing is we have to understand the science, and therefore we should carefully read and study this science, because that way we will make progress and we'll be able to get rid of so many misconceptions. This is the point of hearing, is that it's just like when a child goes to school, they have to do two things. They have to learn and they have to give up all their nonsense ideas. So in the same way, we also have to unlearn so many nonsense ideas which we've learned about our material existence and about this material world. And this way, by hearing and trying to also share and understand these things, our misconceptions are gradually reduced and we learn the science of Krishna. And we make progress in this way. Actually become liberated means to become free from all our misunderstandings of who and what we are and what our life is for. This is liberation. And therefore this process of hearing and studying and understanding and chanting about Krishna is the process of becoming free, becoming liberated. Is that all right?
Yes, Prabhuji, this really helped. It like as a householder, it made me more motivated now.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Actually, it's such a nice science. And as we study and understand, it all gradually becomes more and more clear. So this is helpful.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu.
yes, Prabhuji.
And Prabhu, in fact, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that in Kali Yuga, sannyas is prohibited, isn't it? Because people are like Shudras and they are not able to follow many rules and regulations. So that's why, like in Kali Yuga, it's prohibited.
Yes, generally it's prohibited. But if one is actually advanced in the science of devotional service, then Vaishnava sannyas can be accepted. The mundane sannyas, the sannyas of simply giving up material affection prematurely, is not a good idea. It's not very easy to be renounced because we have to give up our attachments. But the only way we can actually give up our attachments is by transferring the attachment to Krishna. and loving service to Krishna. And when the attachments are actually transferred to Krishna, then that sort of sannyas is quite acceptable.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Is that okay?
Yeah, Prabhu.
Okay, so looking at this, these other three items, pure devotional service is rarely achieved. It's not easy to become a pure devotee. One has to become very determined. But actually, as we make progress in Krishna consciousness, then it becomes more and more something, a realizable achievement. And this point we were discussing, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. They have no interest in any of those 5 kinds of liberation, especially the idea of trying to merge with Krishna's bodily rays. And 6, this extremely important point, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. Nothing else works. Nothing else is going to convince Krishna to bring us back home. So here, this point is so nicely made. Krishna is all attractive, but pure devotional service attracts even Krishna. This means that pure devotional service, it is even transcendentally stronger than Krishna himself, because it is Krishna's internal potency. So, who is Krishna's internal potency?
Radharani.
Indeed. And Radharani, although Krishna is all attractive, Radharani, her service is so pure, with pure love, that she attracts even Krishna. And Krishna becomes controlled by her. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, what internal potency, like exactly what does it like? Can you elaborate more, like what it means?
Okay. Krishna has unlimited different potencies. Krishna has the potential to perform any activity with any of his senses. We're limited to performing only certain activities because our potency to be able to achieve whatever we want to do is limited. For example, I might desire the potency, I might desire to become the prime minister or the king, but I don't have the there's no potential for me to actually do that. But Krishna, simply by his desiring, he can achieve anything he wishes. For example, in his cosmic sleep, he can create unlimited billions of universes and fully maintain them, and at the end of each breath, annihilate them and bring them back again within his body as Mahavishnu. So Krishna has his external potency, which is manifested as the material world. And he has his marginal potency, which is between the spiritual world and the material world, as the jivas. So we're part of Krishna's marginal potency, parts and parcels of Krishna's marginal potency. But Krishna's internal potency is the spiritual existence. And the spiritual existence means loving service to Krishna. So Radharani, she is the means by which all the devotees can approach Krishna through loving devotional service. She's loving devotional service personified. So Krishna's internal potency has nothing to do with the material world at all. The spiritual world means love of Krishna, bas. That's what's going on in the spiritual world. Everyone loves Krishna. That's Krishna's internal potency. And the very emblem, the chief of all those, all the aspects of the spiritual world is Srimati Radharani. Everything is under her control, ultimately, in the spiritual world. So the devotees, they actually come under the shelter of Radharani by being engaged in loving service to Krishna. Krishna confirms this in Bhagavad Gita. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. That the living entities, the Mahatmas, the great souls, they're under the protection of the divine energy, the internal potency of Krishna. So because they're always engaged in loving service to Krishna, they're under Srimati Radharani's protection. Is that okay for now?
Prabhuji, which shloka number you said this is from?
This is Bhagavad Gita, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. If you look it up on the database, I'm just looking up now. Mahatmanas. Where is it? Okay, let's see. That verse is actually Bhagavad Gita 9:13.
9:13.
Yeah, 9:13. O
Okay,
son
okay.
of those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Bhajanti ananya manaso gyatva bhutadam abhyayam. So when we're reading Bhagavad Gita, it's very, very important to try to study Srila Prabhupada's purports also, because then we should not just know the verses in Sanskrit, we should know the meaning and we should be able to explain them also. So otherwise, there's a very interesting point called Shuka, the parrot. So to recite parrot-like is one thing, but Shukadeva Goswami, he is presenting the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, the understanding of Srimad Bhagavatam, as he heard it from his father, Srila Vyasadeva. And with each recitation, it becomes sweeter and sweeter. So how is that? The idea is that when there is a nice fruit and the parrot has actually touched it with his beak, then that part of the fruit becomes even sweeter. So when we hear from the previous acharyas, actually the whole science becomes sweeter and sweeter, following in the footsteps of Sukadeva Goswami, and it becomes more and more palatable. So this is the idea of where the shuka, where the parrot comes in, because we should be able to represent the same subject matter in a way that is understandable by the audience. This is very important, because it's not that we have to repeat like a parrot, but we should be able to explain, just like Prabhupada's put all these teachings that were in Sanskrit or Bengali, he's put them into English to try to give us the opportunity to understand them. And so he's presenting them in words that we can also understand. And this is confirmed. Lord Brahma, he did the same for the demigods, trying to convey the same ideas to them in words that they could understand. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Sorry, I yes, Prabhuji, yes. It's okay.
Okay. So any other question or comment here? Or is everybody fallen asleep?
No,
Hello?
Prabhu. We are listening, Prabhu, yeah.
Okay.
Listening attentively, yeah.
All right, great. So tell you what, it's now 8:15. Should we pause here and carry on next week? Would that be okay?
Yes, Prabhu, and this is a very logical end as well. So we have covered like till 6 point, and then relief from material distress. We can start from there. Yeah, so that would be great, Prabhu.
Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you all very much indeed. And I really appreciate your nice questions and patience with me to try to discuss these things.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you to you, Prabhu, yeah, for giving us so much time and, like explaining this so much valuable, like knowledge to us. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm just seeing how Prabhupada went to such extraordinary lengths to try to make it easy for us to understand the science of Krishna consciousness. He put so many sleepless nights every night into trying to find the right words so that we could understand, making this science of Krishna suitable for our understanding. And the least we can do is whatever we've understood is try to carefully help others understand these things. That will be very beneficial.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so thank you very much indeed. I think one of the ways to end this is to say, Vanchakal Patarubhya
The person in Dubai, which
Ita Tavani